Unemployed and Afraid acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this episode on and of the land where you, the listener, are tuning in from. We would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and extend our respect to any First Nations, Aboriginal, and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today, acknowledging that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to Unemployed and Afraid, a podcast that explores the glorious mess of building your own business with the people doing it. I'm your host and fellow business builder, Kim Kerton. Thank you for being here. Let's get into some good, honest, small business chat. Welcome, listener, to Unemployed and Afraid, and I am #blessed to have your ears solo this week. It's just you and me, and it has been a hot minute for it. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you some nitty-gritty on my own business building journey, some disappointments, some evolutions, some things that are keeping me up at night, what I'm learning, and what I'm super excited about. Last time I ventured solo here with you was December 2022, and we're in September 2023 now, and wowzers, as is the case with small business, everything has changed, but nothing has changed at all. Unemployed and Afraid, this podcast started in December of 2021. Oh, what a glorious year that was. Because I was trying to figure out my way into small business. And I felt like I was hearing the same stories all of the time. The people who've just sold their first business for 10 million, who sold out a product in 12 hours, or some other attention headline grabbing milestone that was super inspiring, but so far from where I was that I just wanted and needed more insight. And I felt at times that so many stories just stayed on the surface. If you've been here with me for a while, you know I'm not great at awkward small talk. I tend to ask really in-depth questions pretty upfront, and I just want to go deeper all the time, and I want to know more. And I needed to know what it was like in the early stages and how businesses were put together, how they were marketed, what successes they had, the failures, and hear from business owners at all levels. And so that is why this exists for you. It is why one week you might hear from a solopreneur building their freelance creative writing business. The next week you might hear a cleaning product startup brand with a team of 10 people, an ambitious partnership that's about to start their own kids label, and literally so many more people at different stages. And importantly, we talk about the people behind them, how they were challenged and grew along the way, so that I and we and us together can get some stepping stones, some more data points, if you will, that what I was going through then, what I'm going through now, and what we're all about to go through in business, ups and downs every day, was normal, no matter what, and that I'd figured my way through it. As I've said throughout all of this, I've been finding my way into business too, right alongside of you. So I should give you some context on that. Whether you've been with me here for a while or you're new joining me here, just the context is always helpful. But this pod, Unemployed and Afraid, and all things podcasting are both my passion and my business. But this podcast is technically business number 6 for me. I'll take you on a brief business journey. It's kind of like an audio CV of failures, but there was my remedial massage business that I ran and built out of an amazing health store. It was kind of like my first job. I got out of school as quickly as I could. Then there was the beauty salon I bought at the ripe old age of 18/19, somewhere around there, that went awfully. My parents joke about this one all the time because I've always been very ambitious and wanted to kind of do my own thing and try new things. And I had become a beauty therapist and I was working in a salon, and they were planning to close down that salon, but it was also available to purchase. It wasn't a huge amount. It was a few $1,000s. I think it was maybe $5,000. Super significant, particularly for me at that time at 18, 19. And I was just so passionate that I was going to make it work. And I remember talking to my parents and telling them about it. And they were like, yep, cool. That's basically all the money you have in the world. So can you just wait till we get home and we'll talk about it a bit more? And naturally I didn't. I was of legal age. So I went ahead and just did it. And they still give me hell about it, as they should, because it ended terribly. If you ever want to know the full story, drop me an email or a message on Insta or something. Just let me know if you do want me to share that story, and I might put it into an episode for you. It was, challenging. The next one. Then there was a personal gift shopping business. That one had legs, but the market fit was all wrong at the time. So who knows? Maybe I'll do that again one day. Then after a slight hiatus out of small business, into 13 years of commercial radio advertising, sales, and branded content strategy. That was what I did for 13 years in corporate land. There came my yoga offerings. So that must be business number 4, I think I'm up to. That was online classes, in-person classes, and private sessions at some beautiful accommodations. A lovely business, but not particularly scalable. And then there was my ceramics business, my handmade dinnerware for luxe accommodations and aesthetic loving consumers. The brand of my ceramics is my online persona or my brand, which is Good Side of the Bed. And that's how I offered my ceramics under that brand name. And that went incredibly well. And it really hurt to move away from. But I just felt as though it wasn't scalable. It was also physically very challenging from a physical body perspective. Hand making all the time is hard, and it requires an awful amount of stuff, like the kilns, the clay, the glazes, everything. It's like one of the most stuff-heavy art practices on the planet. And it just didn't feel exactly like what was right for me. As I scaled up, I sort of felt like I constantly wanted to bring it back into my own thing. And I just felt kind of the energy pushing against it. So yeah, super sad to move away from that one, but also felt like the right thing to do at the time. And who knows, that might come back in some way, shape or form. I'll probably end up just making random stuff for myself when I run out. But back to building Unemployed and Afraid. Firstly, listener, thank you for listening and thank you for being here. And if you've shared it, thank you for that too, because the audience joining us here every week has grown significantly. It's something I'm super proud of. We've got to celebrate every win. I think we're around 60,000 listeners at this moment in time, which is epic. I don't know how I don't expect everyone to love podcasting and like be randomly embedded into the statistics as much as I am, but you do often hear a lot of talk about shows that hit, million downloads, 10 million downloads. And that is certainly something that I'm aiming for. But the scale of podcast success is actually not quite that. That's quite an unusual sort of level of number. That's like, the top 0.5% in the planet. But this number that I've been able to achieve here is really, really significant. We're a small business podcast. We're here for you, small business builders. We are a niche offering. What I'm creating is a niche offering, and being able to hit numbers like that in a relatively short period of time from just one episode a week is fantastic. I have moved to 2 episodes a week now, which is the other amazing celebration that I have. I'm pushing myself really hard to bring you more content because I hear that you want more and you love the stories. So I'm doing as much as I can to both bring you more content and help spread the word of Unemployed and Afraid as much as I can while doing so. You might be one of the many people that think that there's quite a lot of opportunity to create revenue within podcasting. I'm laughing already because the reality is, yes, there is, but it's also incredibly hard. To give some more context to that, I'm an independent podcaster. So I create this content for you for free. So independent means I'm not part of a network like iHeart or Listener who often financially support their podcasters to create the content. And then they generate additional shared revenue for both the network and the podcaster through sponsorship and partnership deals with brands. If you already knew that, just like in your head, tell me to shut up. But just in case it's helpful, I thought I'd give that context. So as an independent podcaster, I've got to do and create the content myself. And I do that at a cost to myself because there's the platform creation and all that sort of stuff. But I don't get paid for it. And there's no other form of payment coming to me for the podcast without me going out there and generating it. Except that is for the generous humans who have supported me as a creator through the Buy Me a Cuppa platform. I cannot tell you how much I lose my shit every time I see one of those emails come through, knowing that you are out there and you've given me money to say thank you for creating this podcast, that you're enjoying the content that much. It genuinely gives me the bump of hope that I need. But I have had my fair share of disappointments. As I said, I'm out there as an independent podcaster looking for the right kind of brands as well to go into partnership with. And it isn't easy in the current economic climate. I've definitely had my fair share of disappointment. And what hurts the most is a no is never about the content or the value of the product. It's like trackable return on ad spend conversion, basically, is what things come down to. We're in a tough economic period, and it's a particularly tricky one whenever you talk about brand sponsorships. Again, I hope this is helpful for you in some way. It's an insight into my world. But what's exciting is that my conversations with any brand I've connected with to date have continued, and they have given me such incredible encouragement about how great the product is, whilst also, maybe it's not right for them right now for whatever reason. They're overinvested or need to see a direct return on investment. But all of the conversations have continued, built beautiful relationships, and 2 so far have actually resulted in super fun and innovative podcast content partnerships. They're kind of like mini series, which is a hard thing to say, but creating mini series within this incredible space of unemployed and afraid so that I can provide you even more value. So, partnering with a brand to talk about a topic that's super valuable to small business owners. Awesome. Right in my joy phase and something I didn't expect to evolve so soon, but I'm fully strapped in for the ride on. So keep an eye out in your feed for that. I will absolutely be telling all of the stories and sharing all of the insight into that experience. But it's really exciting and definitely challenging in terms of these things that come into your world. Like, here's an opportunity to do this. And perhaps it's a bit different than the opportunity that you were thinking might happen. And so then you have to kind of stretch yourself and be like, oh, do I know everything that I know about that? Am I going to do a good job with that? Is this going to be successful for the partner? Am I going to do well? I think that's what it comes down to, right? Like, we're all terrified of being kicked out of the tribe or judged or, things like that. So it brings up a lot of feelings. In terms of the learnings, the whole process of getting out of my own way, building a pitch for this pod, sourcing meetings, doing said pitch, all of those things has taken so much constant personal pumping up and has taught me exactly how great this podcast is, because I feel like I've gotten to know its value like inside and out. So although the vision board elements might not all be ticked yet based on last time we spoke, the value I've received is so much more than I ever could have expected. I do, quite frankly, feel like I can only say that now in retrospect, because seriously, those days and weeks where I'm like waiting to hear back from someone, or I'm nervous about sending someone an email, or I've got a pitch and I don't know how it's going to go, like that's so challenging and so many tears happen, but it does just give so many incredible learnings as well. There's definitely some things that are keeping me up at night at the moment. All small business owners are feeling this one. As a creator, I'm no different. I'll be straight up on it. It's cash. Like, I'm literally throwing the kitchen sink at building this podcast brand, my podcast teachings and offerings, and myself as a content creator. And I have had to tighten every single purse string I have to keep going. There's no more outsourcing at the moment. I've had to pull back on any outsourcing of editing work, as it's just not viable for me right now. Which means that I have to put in, even more hours on top of everything. But I know that it will improve. And I'm here for the hard work and the long hours because I know it will pay off. And I don't know if that's helpful to share with you, because I think all of us are so looking at the, how much things are costing and how intensely it seems to have changed recently. And it's hard, but I do feel like the work and the straight up laser focus is just the thing I keep coming back to about what matters is a great learning. And it's been full on. There's been other bumpy moments. Since we last spoke, I might have mentioned this in the last podcast, but I had a potential business partnership in the works, is in the e-com space. And that one in particular didn't come to fruition. And despite loads of passion and like good vibes and business partner love, plus a fair bit of idea exploration, like a fair few hours and weeks and thinking and headspace invested into exploring this idea, it just turned out it wasn't the right thing for either of us. So it kind of sort of faded into the background, which it wasn't until about 3 months later that I started to see why that had happened. And with so many new arms and legs and bits of my business opening up, it's that whole like happens for me, not to me thing, which shits me to tears when people tell you that when you're right in the middle of it. But in retrospect, this exploration of business is just so interesting and eye-opening and perfectly fine for it to remain on the page. I shared something on my LinkedIn recently about an entrepreneur, and like the term entrepreneur sounds really wanky. It drives me crazy. And, you kind of think of like tech founders and startups and, people who are investing in loads of businesses. And so therefore it becomes a little bit unattainable. But I think just through the sheer act of thinking of a potential business to explore, doing some desk research, building a few documents, having a few meetings, going down that path it's a constant entrepreneur training ground. You are showing yourself in everything that you're doing that you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, and you're getting closer to the thing every day. So I shared that on my LinkedIn. I was kind of talking to myself as well to be like, everything that I'm exploring, everything that I'm doing is proving to me how much on the right path I am. And it's all about then consistency and staying open to the opportunities that will come in. the whole happens for me, not to me thing still does really shit me though. If you follow me on LinkedIn or IG at @goodsidethebed_, you'll know that another element of my business is that I consult on creating branded podcasts. I take all my knowledge of what works in audio. Luckily, all those radio advertising years have come in really handy. What works for an audience, my experience and expertise as a podcaster, and my all-out passion for culture and culture-shifting conversations. It's kind of all packaged together to create podcast environments that are led from a brand voice. Well, if you haven't seen this in action before, or just a side note on this one, because I love it. If you haven't seen a good branded podcast in action, I provided the strategic and creative direction on the Epic podcast, which came out not too long ago, called Access That. It's by Queensland, as in the Queensland state. And it's all about understanding and improving accessibility in travel. It is an absolute ripper. But anyway, I consult in this space. I speak about building podcasts, both creator and brand led at events, all sorts of things. And now that's kind of led me to work on something that will make it easier for small business owners, the humans, that I am so passionately impressed with every day, to build a podcast for your brand. Branded podcasts are so cool and can be done so well. And there's so much in this space that I get super talking with my hands passionate about. But funny story on how this evolution came about. I was speaking with a past guest and all-round legend, Odette Barry, about podcasting naturally. And she said straight up to me, Kim, why aren't you already teaching other people this stuff? And honestly, I'd never considered it. I'd never really thought about it as a viable option or something that I could do. It wasn't until it was mirrored to me that I realized the potential new business offering and valuable information that I could share that was sitting right in front of me. So now, because I'm impatient action person, so now I'm already deep into this idea into reality phase. And already, naturally, it's bringing up all sorts of imposter syndrome, which I really love a new word for that asshole syndrome because I'm proper off it. It's just always around. But it's so frustrating to have all the ideas kicking around in my head, like written in notes in random places. But then when it comes time to make it real, there's definitely a block there. A million excuses and so much goddamn procrastination in terms of getting it done. Just side note, fun fact about how my procrastination materializes. It's two things, actually. On the small scale, as soon as my brain starts trying to problem solve or create something or just think, I have to check my Instagram or another random app. Like I was recently looking for a rental property, so I would just be on realestate.com and it happens before I even know what my hand is doing. It's on my phone, I'm in the app and I'm like, oh my God, where's 5 minutes gone? So that's the small one that I have to work on a lot because I think it's a form of self-sabotage. When I'm on a path to doing something really good for myself, I seek distraction. Maybe you do too. Or the bigger scale, I sign up for webinars and get all inspired to learn, which is not a bad thing. I love to learn. I think you absolutely have to be a lifelong learner in small business, in life, but particularly in small business. But what happens is I seem to find it, or it pops up in my feed, probably because I'm on Instagram. And then I prioritize the learning over the work, or I add the learning to my to-do list. And then I will go for that option because I feel like I'll do the course first, or I'll watch the webinar first, or I'll read the article first before creating the thing. And then, I've self-sabotaged, which is basically what I've done. So I've just spun my wheels instead of just sitting down and doing the do. Because the doing the do is scary because then you put yourself out there and the one side can offer some incredible value and some incredible supportive learning to other people or offering to other people or just a really cool business. But yeah, it's that fear of being seen, I think, that so many of us experience and have to get really comfortable with pretty quickly in this small business game. So as I said up front, since I last shared my business, it has been a roller coaster moment and everything has changed, but also nothing at all. What I do know now more than ever is that what we do here in challenging ourselves to build, grow, pivot all around smash being small business builders out of the park is harder and more rewarding than I ever imagined. No matter where it goes, how it challenges me, how it changes. Business number 6, about to go through its next evolution within itself, and then other ideas that I've still got kicking around, there will be business 7, 8, 9, and 10. I've never been more sure of it. that whole experience of doing this is just so challenging and so exciting. And I used to think that I would have to have a business idea, one big idea or a business plan, and I would roll that plan out and I'd be so committed and empowered by it every day. And it's very possible that that really works for you, or it really works for some people in their business building. But for me, what works is following my curiosity as far as I can, noticing when the curiosity wanes a little bit or something feels off, and then just picking up again, okay, where am I heading now? Where am I heading now? And desperately trying not to overthink it too much, because that's when you get in your own way and the incredible opportunities that might be sitting right in front of you. For me, it's these amazing brand partnerships built around content that I'm so excited about that were sitting right there to be embraced. And then this opportunity to share my learnings to help other people and other small business owners build podcast environments for themselves. I mean, wouldn't come if I didn't just keep asking questions and noticing what's coming up there. So hopefully that is helpful to share with you, and hopefully you get some value from that in your own journey. As always, it is my commitment to show up here for you as a fellow business builder, just to give you the stuff that's on my mind, the stuff that's evolving, not in perfect form, but as an equal, sharing my experiences and my learnings, aside bringing you the stories of the brave humans I find who are doing the do, just showing up here for you and creating a space that encourages you to keep being the incredible small business building superhero that you are, to keep backing yourself and keep growing, and ignore the headlines and just get stuck in and know that everything you're feeling is normal and everything that you're going through is okay, and you have it in you to keep going and to keep growing. And I always want to hear about what you want more of in this space, how it's helping you, all the things. I know you're a small business owner, so you have a million other things to do other than send me a message about how I can improve my offering to you. So feels on that. But if you ever have anything you want to share, please do. My email doors are always open. If you haven't left the show a review, you know how much I would love that. That would be outstanding. Only takes a few minutes on Spotify, on Apple. On Spotify, you just hit the star button. On Apple, you can actually leave a review. You can write a few words. And yeah, it's all so incredibly helpful and inspiring for me. So if you do get the chance to do that, thank you. If you have already, thank you. If you don't, that's okay. I know you're busy. You can always email me at kim@unemployedandafraid.com.au anytime, or slide into my DMs on IG or on LinkedIn. Every time you show up here listening to this podcast, you're helping me build my business. Every time you tell someone about it, it helps me grow. And if you're ever feeling in a place where it's comfortable to be able to shout me a cuppa to say thanks, amazing. The link is in the show notes. And know that I quite literally lose it with excitement every time I get an email ping. But seriously, just choosing this podcast out of the 20 odd million podcasts out there to be the one that is inspiring you is incredible to me. So thank you for believing in me. Thank you for believing in yourself and showing up every day to build your business. You are a legend. Let's kick these next few months right in the guts. Thank you for listening to Unemployed and Afraid, the podcast for small business builders with your host, me, Kim Kerton. If you love it, you can say thanks with a star rating and a review. And of course, join the community on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Find us at Unemployed and Afraid wherever you're hanging out, and I'll see you there.